Greetings and salutations and welcome once again to the Crusaders, live at the time from the safe house. My name is, of course, David Barry at Dr. Barry on varying social media platforms, as you can see from the placard down below. I am joined by two morons. One to my right, we have.
That's right here.
Yeah.
From my own personal inner fortress of solitude, this is the Azorian one, Anthony L.
That was cute. That was cute. Doesn't make any sense yet because we haven't explained the topic.
I know. But... And I'm going to raffle over to the other Kryptonian for the day.
I don't know what I'm catching. Hi, I am Manderson at Son of Mander on Twitter. And
bow to me, son of Mander.
Instagram. You can follow me on those two things only.
Get in the shot, you weirdo.
Sorry.
Don't touch the mic while you're at it.
Personal space.
Personal space is not
in the safe house.
Sorry, that's going to sound weird.
Yeah,
people on the podcast.
Audio, you're going to hear a weird... I'm sorry.
Dude, Twitch is going to hear
I'm
weird.
sorry.
YouTube.
Twitch saw what happened. YouTube
Everyone.
saw what happened. Audio, no
true.
clue. Hey.
So... Hang on. You were ready to go.
Nope, I was going to ask, where can they find all of our things?
No, because I was first going to say, we are your number one,
supposedly,
podcast, allegedly, for anything comic book related.
We hope so.
Rumor has it.
We even keep comic books in the safe house.
Has it.
It's a real one.
Made with paper.
Rumor has it.
For anything related to the Crusaders, take two. For anything related to the Crusaders, you can go to thecrusaders.com. If you're watching on video, it's above Manderson's head. That is your number one hub for anything Crusader and comic book related. From there, you can find blogs, social media accounts, links to all of our pages across varying things. And
very descriptive
internets. So. First off, if you're here on Twitch, thank you, hello, hi.
Thank you.
Hi,
if you're on YouTube, hello from the past. And if you're in the audio, hi. Drive safely, friends.
Yeah.
Drive safely because you're probably listening to it in your car, because why else would you be listening to podcasts?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe you like video, you only like audio things?
That's true.
I feel like I'm still not close enough.
A little bit. If you would like to, hey man, feel your leg. That's, I know, I smell great.
Even this out.
If you would like to support us in any way, shape, or form, you can always hit the sub button above if you're on Twitch, the donation button down below if you want to give a specific dollar amount. If you want to go to Patreon and help us monthly, you can. If you want to go on YouTube and like, comment, subscribe, so on and so forth. If you want to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes because you think we're great, just do it, because we are.
We are great.
We are.
Yeah.
So, on this week's episode, first, we are, of course, going to go around the horn. We're going to talk about some comic books. We're going to talk about some news, because last minute...
Oh, look, news.
There was a lot of it. There was so much comic news this week. This might go long.
That's the wrong button. Hold on.
And our main topic for this evening, if you haven't figured it out from the title, Superman 101. Now, yes, it is episode 98, but it is Superman 101, which plays off the whole thing of,
Educate you.
Yeah. Class 101. It
Class
is
is
the best one, the first one, the one that gives you... Wow, that was... almost in unison. You can't even see the logo. Yeah. Don't you hate that when the logo is on the wrong handle?
It is. I hate that.
So, when...
That's so that when you're drinking, you can Superman.
Look at him.
That's true. When we are in the safe house, surrounded by the comics, on the Comic Podcast, we like to do one thing, amongst many other things.
What's that?
We like to go around the horn.
G-Boss, hog them Duke boys, get back in!
I hate you.
Are you just trying to push him so he'll stop that and we can go back there?
It's just the first thing my brain goes to.
You can all...
Those good old boys.
Die in a fire.
This is... If by episode 105 this is a solo podcast only...
This is why.
He killed us both.
I'm working on booting you guys out. When we go around the horn, easy. When we go around the horn, we go around the table in a circular fashion, except for the fact that we no longer have a circular table. We have not had... This is rather rectangular. We are not around it. We are on one side of it. Hanging out, looking at you. Looking at you, looking at me, looking at you. Looking at them.
Deep into your camera.
Looking at us.
Deep into your camera.
Looking at that. Hi.
So you come
anyway, we talk about what comic books we've been reading this week. So, Stevs, what did you read this week?
I reread something
Okay.
for tonight's show.
Okay.
So I don't want to reveal it until we delve deep into our topic.
So
just
that's
mention
not,
it?
no, because he's gonna excuses. That's excuses.
okay.
That's what that is.
Excuses. He drops
Excuses.
the E. Drops the E.
What do you just start a new job or something? That's what he did.
I know. Yeah.
That's what he did.
It's fact.
And then he was on a vacation with his family last week.
One day.
Oh, how's that?
That was good. That was good. We went to
Yeah, I saw the Instagram. I
Pensacola.
don't care anymore. I
Not
saw the
Pensacola.
Instagram.
Not Pensacola. It's Pescadero Beach. I did not go to Pensacola.
Yeah, isn't that Florida?
Yeah, it's Florida. No. Pescadero Beach.
For one day. Pensacola, one day. For California.
Manderson.
Yeah.
Just because I'm already disappointed. What did you read this week?
I
Put
read
that there.
a few things.
Oh.
As you probably know, as most comic book people do, Justice League number 1 came out last week.
Yeah.
And I read that.
Okay.
And I was very intrigued by it.
You were.
Yeah, I like that Martian Manhunter is back.
Yeah, and not just back.
He's the chairman.
He's the boss.
John
Yeah.
Johns.
And this the dynamic that he brings. Like the whole first half was a lot of fun. You're like, oh yeah, this is the Justice League. They're friends. They're quipping and doing funny jokes and stuff. And Batman's just like, knock it off, guys.
Down to business.
And
joking
Wonder
around.
Woman's doing Batman impressions.
Let's get down to business.
And then
to
it kind
defeat
of
the Huns.
it kind of flips.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little less fun, but it gets really interesting.
Doo-doo got real.
And yeah, so the Legion of Doom
Ooh.
is back.
With the spikes and the bikes.
No.
Not Hawk and Animal?
No, you're thinking of the Road Warriors.
Road Warriors, legendary tag team
Yeah.
of the WWF.
One of the most decorated
Yeah.
tag teams in all of history.
Road motorcycles.
What a rush.
You were saying?
Well, I'm excited where it's going because, as I think you and I are in the chat, I can't remember what I put anymore. They're kind of going back to basics,
Yeah.
which will be a lot of fun. There's still like cosmic level events happening as we see in some of the other comics, like Wonder Woman Annual number 2. I also read was a more cosmic level event that ties into her main storyline as well. I also read, as I mentioned on the drive down, to those of you who were paying attention, Action Comic number 1, going 80 years into the past, and Superman number 1, which is 79 years into the past. And they weren't as difficult to read as some of the comics from the late 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
which are like just so there's like some of that, but it's like they know how to read comics. I write comics then they forgot and were like, we need to.
No, you know what it was? Suddenly they were like, hey, now we pay you by the word. And they were
yeah.
like, here we go.
Oh, that was the decade of bubbles.
That was the crisis of too many words.
What is this, Henry V?
What did you read, David?
Hey, so.
Hey, man, what'd you read?
Hey, lovely to be seeing you. Hey, so, sadly, this week, an icon was taken too soon. 2 icons, really. A fashion icon and a traveling world food, philosophical,
so many
globe trekker icon in the form of Anthony Bourdain. So, most people don't know. I mean, he's mentioned it multiple times, but Anthony Bourdain actually really wanted to be a comic book artist when he was a kid. And later on in his life, he had the opportunity to write some comics. So one of those was with Dark Horse. Another was with Vertigo, I believe. The one I read was called Hungry Ghosts. And Hungry Ghosts, it was kind of an anthology kind of style, some short stories, different artists, written by someone. And Anthony Bourdain, like he worked with an established author, and I can't remember the name to save my life. But it basically was it was kind of focused on some of the myriads of like culture and mythos related to food that Anthony Bourdain learned about in his travels. It was really interesting. It's a really good read. It feels like Bourdain. The art and everything is just super cool, and it's very unique stories. I would definitely suggest checking it out. I believe it went to 3 issues. I'm not sure if it was done after that or if they were waiting for him. So, Hungry Ghosts, Anthony Bourdain. Check it out or read it.
I've been marathoning his show on Netflix. His Parts Unknown.
Yeah,
The CNN show.
it was really good.
Yeah. God.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah. You know what the best part about this is? So, what was it, like a week ago? There was like video from a meeting with the president and the vice president, and the president has a bottle of water, and he picks it up, like he's just sitting there, and then he just picks it up and puts it on the ground, and then without even like skipping a beat, the vice president like grabs his bottle and puts it down too, and I'm like, worst, best, like secret code? Like, are they just like, what was that? Are they just crazy? And it's like, no, that was actually a signal. Like, take the shot. Like, I don't even know.
What's the date? December 16th, 1991. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, not sure what that was about. So that every time I drink the water now, that's our, you guys are you're my pences.
We're your pences.
Sorry.
So that's the new band, Trump and the Pences.
Yeah. Speaking of the president and current affairs.
Oh boy, that's right.
How's some news?
Supposedly this happened today. That's all I know.
Yeah, that's the news.
Haven't read.
Bye, guys.
Next.
So, a ton of news this week, like just ridiculous. First off, for those of you who are unaware, we like comic books.
Oh yeah.
Yes, there are certain publishers that we like more than others. Not picking favorites, but there's some times where things were better in other ones than other places. Yeah. But a certain publisher is an imprint of another publisher. You see where I'm going with this? If you don't, it's probably because this isn't making any sense. So,
what's an imprint for the layman?
This is why I like him. He's like, hey, let's do that. So an imprint is basically like a smaller company within a larger publisher. Usually gets its own team, has its own president, own creative team. And while it's loosely related, might use characters in the same universe, might not. It can kind of have its own free will, usually to go a different direction than the main story. For example, most recently, we've learned about this thing called pop-up imprints. Mm-hmm. So Young Animal, if you're a fan of Gerard Way from the Black Parade,
My Chemical Romance.
My Chemical Romance. Mm-hmm. Thanks, emo kid. That was perfect. Yeah,
black makeup.
Yeah, suddenly just eyeliner. Manderson's just like, oh, I hate this podcast. So Gerard Way was part of an imprint at DC called Young Animals, and the idea was it was actually meant to be basically 2 years. It was like they said it was going to be 2 years. So he got to write, and he got all these other writers and artists together, and they got to take some really random characters from the DC universe and give them kind of breathe new life into them. It was very strange and out there, and
good. It was
very good. Yeah. So imprints usually go in a different direction from the main publisher. So Vertigo is a big one under the banner of DC. So Vertigo is where we saw amazing things like Saga of the Swamp Thing with Alan Moore, Animal Man, Dead Man.
Sorry to interrupt you. Thank you again for introducing me to Saga of the Swamp Thing.
I got you.
Yeah.
Constantine. Yeah, a lot of the darker characters came out of Vertigo, and they got to do some really interesting things. So Vertigo is now celebrating its 25th year. And for those of you who were not following our podcast, why wouldn't you have been? Over the last couple of years, it was maybe like a year and a half ago, there was a bit of a situation, at Vertigo. The president was harassing employees. I'm trying to put it worse. He was Weinsteining it up. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, man. Yeah. Appreciate it. So he was and DC handled it wonderfully by not handling it wonderfully at all. They're like, hey, what if we just took away all the female employees from his area? Then he'll be good, right? That's right. That's a solid plan. So Vertigo kind of got quiet. They kept publishing books, but it got quiet. It wasn't as big of a deal with the stuff that was coming out of Vertigo. So now it's the 25th anniversary of Vertigo. New teams across the board. New hierarchy. New
president.
New editors.
I can't say the word that's coming to mind because there's children watching.
Mm-hmm. New custodian staff.
Yeah, new people across the board, and that also means new books.
New Keurig machine.
So no, not a new Keurig machine. So there's 7 new titles coming out of Vertigo.
They probably got a new Keurig machine.
They might have got a new Keurig machine. I don't know, but one of those titles is a book called Border Town, and guess who, of course, is drawing it? Not of course, but guess who's drawing it?
Oh, I heard this.
Friend of the show, Ramon Villalobos. Yeah, Ramon is going to be drawing this book. It's got an awesome creative team, and there's a bunch of other books coming out as well. I am sweating up a storm.
It's because the heat that Ramon brings with his art has gotten to you.
It is summer in Sacramento, dudes.
Yeah, that's true.
So, other news. Oh, my baby's here. Other news out of
yourself.
Valiant. Valiant Comics has also got a bunch of new stories coming out. They're doing another Bloodshot, another New Faith, and they're bringing on a ton of young, talented creators. I can't even remember all of them because I wrote this down in my notes a really long time ago. But Valiant, it's going to be a good time to maybe start reading Valiant again. I'm also trying to burn through this because we got so many things to go on. So,
It's a long list.
It's a long.
Marvel announced that the Guardians of the Galaxy are no more. They're done, but they are being replaced.
The Guardians Part 3?
No.
Volume 3?
Well, I mean, that's the movies. This is the comics. The Guardians of the Galaxy are no more. Which is just one of those things where it's just going to... They're going to let the comic rest for a while.
Okay.
Then it's going to come back when the movie wraps up again. So... But they're being replaced by the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh.
So
wordplay.
Yeah. This team, I believe, includes Valkyrie, someone in the Destroyer armor, but it looks like it has a consciousness. Brunhilde, I believe, is in there. Or no, is it Angela? Angela's on there. I think Brunhilde might be in there as well. Some other dudes I didn't recognize. Might be some new Asgardians. So we'll see what happens there. And then in the last piece of Marvel news, Wolverine, Logan, has got a new superpower.
Can he also solar flare?
I read about this.
Are you talking like the Dragon Ball Z solar flare?
No. Like back in 2013, they gave New 52 Superman the ability to solar flare, and he would just like explode energy.
That's right.
You know what's kind of funny? It is heat related.
Oh, okay.
It's
Did you read it? Did you?
I did not.
This is pretty good. This guy. So
Trying to ruin it, and I made it better.
So his claws can heat up.
Boom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
Wait, is
butter.
that a biological mutation, or is that just something that is now built into the adamant? I can never say the word right. Adamant? Whatever.
See my eyebrows?
He's gonna tell you.
We don't know.
Oh, we don't know.
Oh.
So it was alluded to by the new writer of Wolverine, because right now the Marvel has the Hunt for Wolverine, because they were trying to track down where Wolverine went, because his body disappeared after the events of Death of Wolverine, and so the writer said that Wolverine's body has been missing for a very long time, and we don't know where it's been. We don't know what happened to it, so we're not sure. Is this?
Oh, somebody was doing more experiments.
Yeah, is this a high evolutionary kind of a thing? Is this just a next step in his evolution? Who knows?
Question.
Yeah.
Don't know if we have an answer to this, but it took heat to put the antimantium into liquid form, correct? Mm-hmm. But now in its state, the heat doesn't make it liquefy?
That's a very good one. That's a good point. Will it melt eventually if he heats it up enough?
What say you, writer?
Or is it that that's the limit? That's how they can make it.
Oh, it gets that
That's where he
far.
can't just get so crazy hot that he can't melt the adamantium.
It gets just enough to where it's still steel, but now it's searing hot as well.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I can believe that.
What do you think, Mason?
I can believe that.
I like to think it's a next evolutionary step in his mutation. Like there's something else that's happening. Maybe somebody messed with him while he was dead.
Yeah.
And that's part of what brought him back.
Ooh.
That's my hunch. I guess I'm gonna have to read and find out.
We will have to read it. We do that with comic books.
Yes, we do.
So, lastly, our last bit of news for the week.
A lot of news.
A lot of news. Jeff Johns has stepped down as whatever role his role never made sense. But CCO,
His
Chief
role
Creative
was
Officer,
DC.
President CCO, some or another. He was doing some stuff with
DC.
Warner Brothers.
That's what it was.
So last week, the president of DC stepped down, and that was basically Jeff Johns' boss. So now Jeff Johns is stepping down, but he's not like getting demoted. As someone put it in an article, he's stepping out of the boardroom and back into the comic studio, basically. Like he's going back to being able to create more. They're giving him his own imprint again. Interesting. They give him an imprint where he's taking. It sounds like technically Doomsday Clock is considered part of this imprint, part of his production company.
Okay.
He's got producer credits on Aquaman, producer and writer credits on Wonder Woman 2, and also he's writing Green Lantern Corps, which has been now confirmed. Which I didn't realize that was confirmed. Did you know that was confirmed? I knew it was happening.
Yeah.
But like I didn't know it was called Green Lantern Corps. Like I didn't know it was already like.
Yeah, I knew it was Green Lantern.
Okay,
Corps.
I didn't realize it was already here. So it's here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not here.
I mean, you can't do Green Lantern again because, well, Ryan Reynolds ruined
He
it.
totally took care of that.
But,
he changed the timeline.
Oh yeah, it didn't happen.
You're welcome, Canada.
So we're doing the core.
Yeah, so we're getting the Green Lantern Corps out of what you call it. Jeff Johns. So Jeff Johns is stepping down as an executive, but he's still obviously going to be heavily involved in DC. And stepping into that position, though, is veteran DC artist, writer, and image founder.
Not me, sorry. Jim Lee drew this.
James Lee I got nothing. Jim Lee. So Jim Lee, famously known for abandoning DC and Marvel and being one of the original Seven Kingdoms,
forming the clique
of Image Comics, has now stepped into the role of CCO for DC Warner Brothers.
I'd be right in calling Image the
clique
of comics, right?
It sounds like Jeff Johns is going to back to doing the things that he really loves to do.
Yeah. It sounds like he was kind of not that he was stuck there, but he was kind of. This is obviously something he wanted to be more creative. He wanted to write more.
Picturing Jeff like bored kid face at the CCO desk. This is boring. Let me draw something.
Pretty much probably what he did,
Oh,
Because
he
probably didn't get into comics to sit in a boardroom and talk about how to make comics better. He's like, no,
Figures.
I want to make comics better.
Budget
so I'm
that.
going to go and do that. And I'm also going to hopefully write the DCEU ship.
Do we balance the budget again?
That'll be
Cool.
The budget got like attacked by like Dark Side.
Are we being sued for antitrust violations? Cool.
That's actually happening right now.
I wanna raise
DC Warner Brothers is being investigated for antitrust corporations because Time Warner, I believe. Is Time Warner the parent company or someone above Time Warner?
Time Warner.
Someone wants to buy AT&T, and it's just, or AT&T wants to buy them.
My bad, AT&T.
Yeah, AT&T wants to buy. Yeah, it's just kind of like, come on, all right, here we go. So that is the news for the week. So on to our main topic.
What's
on to the reason we're here.
What's that?
Manderson,
Yeah.
Tell it, bro.
what do we got?
Well, we're going to talk about the Avengers, right?
Oh.
No.
Yeah, Captain America.
Captain America.
Didn't
Let's
show up
do
till
this.
issue 4.
We're going to talk about Superman. And,
Why?
We're going to start. Oh man, I don't know where to start.
You threw him off, man.
Wait for the layman. Who's Superman?
The anger.
Well, just to kind of preface this, we're going to try to do more of these one-on-one type things, but we're starting with Superman because he was the original superhero.
Yeah.
As a lot of you know, he celebrated his 80th birthday.
He looks
really
great.
good for 80. Yeah,
he
look
looks
at that.
great. He's like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. It's amazing.
The last
Yes.
of the Numenorians?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, we're nerds.
Yeah. 80 years old, that movie.
He was the first, in my opinion. He's the best. It's an opinion. How do you feel about that, David?
He's fine.
You're
fine.
kind of liking him more
I like
now than you
Superman.
ever have.
When I met David, I would say, how do you feel about Superman? He was like, I hate Kryptonians. I was like, oh, okay.
You did do that.
And now he's fine. So that's like, comparatively, this is like a 10.
Well, to Barry's defense, in his opinion, they are finally writing him well.
They are, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
After a long stint.
So, as I kind of alluded to, he's introduced in 1938. Fun facts.
Good times.
The creators, Jerry Siegel and Jerome... Frick, I can't
That's a
remember his
Jackson
last
5.
name.
Jerome.
Jerry.
I didn't write it down on purpose because I wanted to hear you.
There's a Schuster.
Jerry Schuster.
Schuster.
There we go.
yeah.
This
Jerome?
Clark Kent Kal-El Superman was not their original Superman character that they wrote. They wrote a number of comics before they became big on this. The most notable of those being called The Reign of the Supermen, where the group of Supermen who developed superhuman powers actually became evil tyrants. And it went the other way. And then they decided they were going to write...
So Bruce Wayne said...
This guy, Clark Kent Kal-El, 1938 Action Comics #1. They had... Superman had like 5 pages.
Yeah.
And then the rest was other stuff, which was pretty common for comic books back
That's how
then.
it
So it
worked.
wasn't like really weird. But Superman #1, he got his own book, and that was like the first time he had his own book. But I'm getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's, you know what? You're really good at breaking it down, David.
Yeah.
So
Break it down.
why don't you break down his origin story for us?
This is DX, Manderson. What Barry and I had to be big fans of. The DX. The controversial era of the WWE. The late 90s.
We're going to disappoint.
No, you want to... Yeah, I got no. You wanted me to break down DX, right?
That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh, no, you wanted me to break down Superman.
The origin story.
Superman. also known as Kal-El,
Kal-El.
or Clark Kent, comes from a planet called Krypton that circles a red sun. And Krypton is an advanced planet with spacefaring, science-based race and culture.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, in the last days of Krypton, now, I feel like this has been, like, changed.
A couple times.
A couple different
Yeah,
times.
there's numerous iterations.
Were there even kind of changing it now?
Yes. We're getting ahead of
Bendis,
ourselves
yeah.
again.
But so as far as the origin is concerned, for most people just know that Krypton was destroyed. Whether it's by I believe Man of Steel and some of the books have made it about resources. They basically tapped into the core and it blew up because they were like, you know, screw you, you know, environmentalism. Versus other where, like, you know, aliens and other people have been involved. Regardless, Krypton is destroyed, and Kal-El's parents, Jor-El and
Laura.
Is it Laura L?
Laura Jor-El. I think.
Laura.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So they take their little bundle of joy, pack him into a rocket, and shoot him into the stars in the hopes that he can take the good parts of Krypton with him to wherever he goes, and he can be a hero to those people. A symbol, if you will, on a planet that has a yellow sun, because red suns... Yes?
They're just. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going. Oh.
Yeah. I thought you were like, no.
Excuse me, Dr. Barry.
So he landed on Earth and in Kansas, and was found by a family, farmers.
Farmers.
Yeah, it wasn't a ranch. And those were
Jonathan.
thank you, Jonathan and Martha Kent. So they raised the boy as his own, as their own. Why did you say that name? And they named him Clark Kent. And under the yellow sun of Earth, Kal-El gained powers.
In its radiation.
Drinking in the sun's radiation, he gained powers and abilities not of this world. Now, do we want to talk the power set?
Yeah. Let's do that.
So, originally, able to leap tall
Stop
buildings
that.
in a
Steve,
single bound, more powerful than locomotive, faster than a speeding bullet,
Yep.
was not initially able to fly. That's a key point.
Wait.
He was able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Yep.
He was able to.
1/8 of a mile.
He could Hulk.
One
He
jump.
could Hulk jump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Then they were like, you know what? No, let's make him able to fly.
He's got a
super
cape on.
strong.
Let's make him fly.
Punch things really hard. X-ray vision, except lead. He can't see through lead. Is that still canon?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I like that. I like that there's
Yeah.
such a simple thing as lead that he can't see through.
Luther did too.
He is super fast. Is he as fast as the Flash?
That is a, that is a great question.
Yeah, they've done that a number of times.
Do you
in
have?
comics.
I hope so.
I don't think I put it down there, but we could talk
That's
about
okay.
it.
He's invulnerable. He has ice breath. And most recently, he could supernova, and then he would like lose all his powers for a while.
I
Yeah.
think-
He's
I don't
weak
know if
for a
that's
little bit.
canon anymore.
No, I
took
think
that
that's
out.
done.
Yeah,
They were like, nah.
Well, wait, because
but Jonathan can.
but New 52 Superman was
Yes.
in the universe for a while. Now he's gone. He died, right?
That's
We're
right.
gonna get down to that later.
Good call. That's right.
Getting ahead of myself
Sorry.
again.
It's it's
You're
hard.
leaping.
That's the way we
hard.
do. When we have conversation about comics, we're all over the place.
Yes.
So yeah,
That's
that's basically the power set
Yeah.
of Superman, and that is his origin. Steve's. What do you think the most important people in the Man of Steel's life? Because you got power set, you got superpowers, you got to have super friends. Bum 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 bum.
Who I think...
No, his key allies. We have the notes.
Oh, his key allies, of course. Sorry, my bad. I was like, well, his key allies, of course. Frenemy, you might say. They're kind of the same as Cap and Tony. They're friends who disagree on quite a few things. Nice pour.
Thanks.
That was good. That would be the Dark Knight Batman, a.k.a. Bruce Wayne. You also have Wonder Woman, who's ally and, depending on the story, love interest.
Sometimes love
You know?
interest.
Which is, yeah.
In
Mark
my
Waid.
opinion, those are the two most important allies in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
The three of them together.
the Trinity.
I'm really disappointed that they stopped the Trinity.
The DC
title,
Trinity. Yes.
but the three of them together.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there is his Earth love, when he's not in love with Wonder Woman, there is that one woman who has always been important.
When he's sick of that super booty.
When
and
he's
want
sick of that
normal booty.
super Amazonian princess, goddess, excuse me, he goes to famed reporter, journalist. She did end up winning the Pulitzer, didn't she, in some stories?
yeah.
Yes. Miss Lois Lane.
Yeah. Always comes back to her regardless
Always,
of the story.
whether oh, by the way, rest in peace, Margot Kidder. That was this year. That was about a few weeks ago.
I would just like to point out in the chat, Lois Plane. Oh.
Wow.
Snap.
Wow. I
No,
mean,
no love.
come on.
All right, that's
Terry Hatcher? I mean,
Where's the super booty?
come on. I like Amy Adams too. I mean,
Where's that super booty?
do we count Superman Returns? What's her name? Oh my god, I forgot her name all of a sudden. Kate, not Kate. Kate? Is it Kate?
Blanchett. No,
No,
Kate.
Lois in
I don't know
Superman
what you're talking
Returns.
about right now.
She
I
did-
got
she
stuck
was
on the
in-
lowest plane.
She was in Blue Crush. That's all I can remember right now.
What?
You know who I'm talking about. She
No.
was
I don't.
Lois- All right.
Well, we got off topic.
Get to work,
All
guys.
right, so while he's doing research, other important allies, or at least more recently,
You totally missed.
Jonathan Kent,
Superboy.
Superboy.
Okay.
I mean, family Lois, Superboy, Jonathan.
Where's
And-
Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen?
Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy
Aw.
Olsen. I feel like back in the day,
Oh, gee, Mr.
it
Cat.
was more true. And
Was so
more recently,
they were so tight,
Yes.
and not at all anymore.
Yeah, more recently he's like barely there.
Now it's like now it's like when Clark shows up to like type a paper, like Jimmy like walks by and like, hey Clark,
Hey Clark,
and
what's
that's,
up?
That's
oh,
it.
Kate
gee, Clark, what are you
Bosworth.
working?
Kate
yeah,
Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth, Superman Returns.
Yeah.
There it is.
We get it.
Decent
You like
loves.
movies.
And then of course, I mean, the Justice League, and that's like a rotating
Cast of characters.
cast of people.
Yeah.
Back on Jimmy Olsen, he did get killed in Batman vs Superman.
But that wasn't the real Jimmy Olsen.
It wasn't the real Jimmy Olsen.
No, you know the female intern.
Yeah.
Her last name's Olsen.
Oh, that's right.
like
in Man of Steel.
Jane Olsen.
They don't say it's Jimmy unless it's the extended cut. of
Guys,
Batman
you know
vs.
none of these are actual real people, right? These are characters.
We're on a comic book podcast, Barry. You know this already.
It's
We
real
talk about
enough.
real people.
It's still real to me.
Do you think we missed anybody else?
Shazam!
Crypto.
Crypto the one.
Crypto.
Wonder Dog.
Wonder Dog. That's
There are a number of super pets. There's a cat.
yeah. The whole cast.
And I feel like I read somewhere there was another.
Was there a super koala? No.
There should be.
Yeah. Oh, I mean the super family.
Yeah.
Kara Zor-El, Supergirl.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Steel. The other super.
Steel.
Clone Superboy.
Steel, aka Shaq.
Shaq.
I had that
Wow.
toy. I had that toy. It was
movie,
terrible.
Oh my gosh.
It was
I
terrible.
still have not seen that movie.
Don't-
Sergeant Squiggles says Superman Birthright is my favorite Superman origin story. We are going to get to origin stories.
Yeah.
So and there was a super horse. He
Birthright
says.
is good, yeah.
Why are there so many super animals?
I don't know. There's a bat horse.
Actually, now that I think about it, Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now here's what I want to know is because again we're just completely. I'm ignoring your outline for a
We're
second.
just jumping around.
If animals from
it's more of a bad
Krypton came to Earth, would they be super animals?
I would
assume
think.
so. Yeah.
Okay.
I would think.
But did Krypton have normal animals or do they have their own?
They had those. Well,
They had. I don't know.
yeah, those
I mean,
creatures that they fly around in a Man of Steel.
Yeah, I think
that's like a horse.
They always kind of present Krypton as this really harsh environment,
Yeah.
and so they had like really crazy.
Except if you read the old
Animals.
ones where it's like
It's
bright
like-
color and like
Yeah.
everything.
guys, everything's good.
It looks like Oz.
Yeah.
And then after that it's like no, it's a rugged wasteland.
And that's part of the reason why they're so strong. Yeah. So, all right. Viewers, chat room, if you think we missed anybody, shout it out.
Yeah. Or in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, you can
or
toss it there.
or if it's a podcast.
Yell
app,
in your car.
Yeah, just yell in your car.
You forgot
They forgot about the super gorilla.
on.
We'll hear it because we'll have super hearing.
Oh, yeah, not yet.
Super hearing. We didn't have that on there.
Oh, we did not have that on there. So we did. So did we know? Would we comment on the fact that heat vision is actually tied to X-ray vision? Like he super focuses the X-ray vision. And it
Oh,
becomes heat.
interesting, because like the radiation. Oh,
So they're actually the same
Thank you,
power.
Anderson.
but
so
it's
could
heat
he
different.
could he concentrate it down and melt through lead?
He could melt through lead. Yeah.
So he could just be in like.
But he didn't know what was
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So he could do that.
It wasn't a gorilla. It was a monkey named Beppo, who
Alright,
owns
what
an
about-
Italian restaurant.
Buka of or duh.
So we got the allies. What about villains?
Oh well, I mean,
He's got plenty. You've been around 80 years. You probably got plenty of villains.
there's the greatest
plenty of nemesis.
criminal mind of our time.
The Joker.
Okay, greatest criminal mind of our time for Superman, Lex Luthor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recently re-bad guide.
Re-bad guide.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually more excited about than him being a good guy.
I thought,
So-
it was. I feel like they dragged out him being a good guy for a really long time.
Yeah, they did.
Like it was, but at the same time, it was like it would have been like a short little like, oh yeah, look, you got armor. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Of course, we then
Brainiac, Sergeant Squiggles, Brainiac.
Brainiac,
Darkseid,
one of the best.
Brainiac,
Darkseid.
who in some stories, Brainiac is the reason Krypton
Yeah.
Right.
Some of them.
destroyed. You have one of my favorites, Zod. Kneel before Zod. Cyborg Superman, a.k.a. Hank Henshaw.
No relation
No relation
to Christopher.
to Christopher
Henshaw.
Henshaw.
No.
Not related to Chris Henshaw. And
As far as we know, I have to ask. I guess.
Mongol, and the one that I have a hard time saying,
Mixer
Mr.
Mixie Pidalick.
Mixopidalic.
Mixie Pidalick.
That's it.
Mixie Pidalick.
That's it.
Is that real? Mick Z.
It's Mixie Pidalick.
Interesting.
The little guy.
Yeah,
with the magic stuff.
with the hat, and he just the strangest villain ever.
And if I remember,
Yeah.
was he? Because I'm behind a season on our CW DC shows.
Oh yeah.
Was he not in the Supergirl Flash crossover? And wasn't he like a tall, like rather handsome looking guy?
That wasn't Mixie Pidalick.
That wasn't Mixed.
No,
Okay.
he was in the episode of Supergirl before that happened.
Okay, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Was he? Was
No,
he?
he was a tall.
Yeah, that's what I
handsome guy.
thought.
He
Yeah.
wanted to marry Supergirl.
Yeah, they've
but I guess
they've introduced
technically
him to
he's a
Supergirl.
fifth dimensional being. He could look like whatever he
That's
wants.
right. They did bring up that he could look.
He
at
always just chooses to look like a 3-foot tall guy with like looks kind of like an orange and purple version of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
That is what he
Yeah.
is.
Maybe I don't know. The guy who wrote that, where did he? Superman issue 30, where he came in. That's my transition into the down below.
take a
Really
look
liked the
at
Fighting Irish. He's like, I'm gonna make a villain that looks
yeah,
like
but he could do whatever he wants.
he could do
Yeah.
whatever he wants.
And
Any
Superman
other
can't handle it.
important villains? I have one that's not on there.
All right, go for it.
But again, it was for a very short period of time. It was like the way like Jimmy Olsen was like his like best friend for so
Yeah.
long. Superboy Prime.
Oh yeah.
Superboy Prime was a great villain, but only for a decent amount of time. But we haven't seen him in like I feel like
Since like 2012 or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. We haven't
Superboy actually beat Superboy.
yeah,
Superboy Prime.
yeah. We haven't seen him in a while.
What about Atomic Man or Atom Man? What was his name? That guy. In
The Atomic Skull.
I'm talking Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Oh,
No,
that movie
not that guy.
didn't happen. That was
No?
like Jurassic Park 3.
Flashy
It
little
didn't
outfit.
happen.
In the chat, we
appreciate
did
that.
forget a
Oh,
good
Bizarro,
one.
yeah.
Bizarro
Bizarro.
Superman.
I feel
Who's-
like yeah.
See, I put
Bizarro's
Bizarro.
a villain, but I feel like he's also not really a villain. He's just like kind of doesn't know what's going on.
I put Bizarro as the same as Solomon Grundy for Batman, where Batman kind of feels sorry for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's had to fight him a few times, but then he like leaves him dinner on Thanksgiving because
Yeah.
he feels bad for him.
Oh,
that's where I
yeah.
put Brainiac.
Bizarro.
Bizarro.
Bizarro. Brainiac is
Brainiac's definitely not that guy.
Hey, I destroyed Krypton.
Bizarro, who's actually part of the Red Hood's team.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
Such a
Red Hood and
weird
the Outlaws.
Red Hood and the Outlaws. Dude, this list is incomplete.
Well, okay, no,
We are
I
forgetting
left
that.
Doomsday off for a very specific reason.
Oh, you did.
Because yes, Doomsday for a long time was a Superman villain, but he is way more powerful in this iteration since New 52, where it
Right.
takes the entire Justice League to take him down.
Right.
So he's not just a Superman villain. Also, Sergeant Squiggles. He's been in more Wonder Woman comics since the Rebirth than Superman comics. So he and Wonder Woman have gone toe to
Interesting.
toe
He's
a
also
lot more often. So
a big duty
You're
head.
you're right. Doomsday. Sorry.
He killed
Did we
Superman.
already
big
mention
duty
Doom-
head.
Yeah. Did we mention Doomsday already?
We did.
Yeah, your name is getting dropped a lot.
Sorry. I was going off on Darkseid. Yeah, you're right. Doomsday. We missed Doomsday completely. Sorry.
Oh, you were saying Darkseid.
Darkseid. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. We
Doomsday.
did.
You are 100% correct.
Squiggles, you're absolutely right,
We
man.
forgot that, and I am sorry, Sergeant
I feel like
Squiggles.
my name is being dropped.
Wow. How did I misread that? English is hard, guys.
Dark Side, Doomsday.
Yeah, no,
They both start with
Darkseid.
D.
Darkseid and Darkseid's also going to be apparently involved in one of the Justice League teams. Was it Odyssey that's going to be part of?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, no, Darkseid been facing off a lot with the Justice League and with Wonder Woman. Hasn't been as much of a. We haven't had the whole like in the cartoon where he tried to turn Superman into his son. We haven't had in a while. Doomsday, yes, of course,
Yeah,
killed
Doomsday, yeah, he's
killed
got
Superman,
Superman.
which we'll get to. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's down there
And I think maybe that's why I left off the list because it was a little further.
because he's got an important.
So important issues and story arcs and all that kind of stuff. Kind of started off with a lot of issues because originally comics didn't have long story arcs; they were just issues.
Right. Yeah. So it's like if you're looking for like a jumping on point, this isn't a jumping on point. These aren't like things you should like start from. But if you want to know where he came from, where characters came from, Manderson has got a list for you.
These are
important milestones.
Yeah. Action Comics #1, of course. Quick read for the Superman part.
Yeah.
But
with the car.
Superman #1, which was a year later. It expands on that same story. They actually use some of the same exact panels. So there's like two different art forms or art styles in there.
Interesting.
But that's where we get introduced to the Kents. We get introduced to the Daily Star, which later becomes the Daily Planet in that point. And actually, fun fact in Action Comics and Superman #1, Clark is originally put into an orphanage. He's not...
That is fun.
Yeah, so the Kents found him, they put him in an orphanage, and then in Superman #1, they go back and get him. In Action Comics, that doesn't happen.
God, they were terrible.
Well, I mean, they felt bad for him. They're like the Christopher Reeve Kents, where they're already really old.
Yeah.
And so they're like, I don't know if we could take care of this. Okay. And then
that's what Jonathan Kent got out in that one.
We get more of his origin story in there. Before it's just kind of like he's an alien in Action Comics. World's Best Comics #1 was the first story where Batman and Superman are featured.
World's Finest.
With Robin. And they actually, they're in the comic, but they're never together until issue number 71. So maybe World's Best Comics
Ego
is going to be... No, that's Marvel.
Good one.
Thank you. Maybe issue number 71.
The guy wearing the Marvel show was rethinking that one.
Action Comics
Good
number 23. Yeah. Lex Luthor is introduced. At this time, he's not really like a rich millionaire business mogul kind of guy. He's an evil scientist. So like if you watch the old cartoons, he's the guy with the death ray that Superman has to punches his way up, which is I thought was really cool back in the day. Action Comics 252 is when we're introduced to Supergirl, and this is actually so 252, 253, and 254. It's a 3 story arc issue. Jimmy Olsen wishes Supergirl into existence because he wants Superman to have somebody who is his equal and they can be partners. So
he's like, hey, I really like my best friend, but society doesn't allow me to love him. Can I have a female version of him?
Girl version?
Well, no. He wanted somebody for Superman, not for...
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then he eventually realizes, oh no, I ruined Superman's life and wishes her away. So it's kind of an interesting...
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird.
Women ruin your life, kids. That's what Jimmy Olsen taught us.
Especially if they're your cousin.
Yeah.
But you know what? Jimmy Olsen's a ginger, so...
Yeah.
What do they know?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Superman 30, Mr. Mixapitalik is introduced.
Mixapitalik!
Which we already mentioned. Action Comics.
I feel like Batista in Guardians getting the batteries wrong.
Analaxal battery.
Arbitrary batteries.
That's nothing like what I just said.
That's exactly what you said.
Exactly what you said.
Arbitrary batteries.
Action Comics 123 is the first time Superman actually flies.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. And they did that because the comic, the cartoon that we all loved when we were kids, like the super old cartoon from the 40s and 50s, the animators had a hard time getting the leap down, so they went with a fly and they just adopted it into the comics, and it kept going. So we're going to get into some more important story arcs now, and I'm going to let these guys kind of throw out some of theirs. I got a few of my own as well.
So if you want a good... what's the word I'm looking for? A solid Superman story all around. All-star Superman is where you're gonna want to be, and it's not necessarily a good introduction to the character. It's a good introduction to the character. It's not a good introduction to like his origin story,
right?
But that's not always what you're looking for. Sometimes you're just looking for a really good, solid, self-enclosed story that can tell you a lot about the character. All-Star Superman is that story for me. It's written by Grant Morrison, who is one of the best. Like, he will go down as one of the greatest comic writers of all time. And it's drawn... oh my god, I'm blanking on who drew it. Look it up for me.
It's not Jim.
No, it's not Jim. No, it's Quiley. God, it's Frank Quiley. Sorry.
You got it. We're fast enough.
Woo! So Frank Quitely, who in a lot of ways, it's the simple things an artist can do to make you care more about a character, or think a character is stronger, or make you more believable. Frank Quitely was the one who, when he draws Clark Kent, he draws him slouched over. He makes him look a little more putsy, as opposed to when he's Superman, he's just straight up and down. And it's basically one of those little things that was just how is it people are able to look at Clark Kent and not know he's Superman? Well, that's one of the ways. And he's always like tripping over himself and falling, but it's like he's doing that and he's simultaneously like saving people. Like he like trips in the street and like bumps someone, and like a bus they narrowly miss getting hit by a bus, but they like just see them like him like tripping, bobbling into him. So All-Star Superman, if you're just looking for a really good Superman story, it's one of my favorite Superman stories of all times. You should definitely check it out. It was 2 volumes, then they gathered it into one. It's in one collected volume now. So, what do you think?
This isn't like our introduction to the character, but our like
What's
our
your
favorites.
If you could say, hey, this is a book that I think you need to read.
I really enjoyed, as I brought a physical copy of it here, by J. Michael Straczynski.
Ooh,
Superman Earth 1, Volume 1. Yeah. There's quite a few things in here that remind me of Man of Steel. Excuse me as I use the restroom. Oh, I mean, that's it. There's water.
pouring water.
That looks fresh.
There's a little urinal built into the safe house here.
This has got weird.
There's elements in there that remind me of what they took in Man of Steel. Different approach to the character. Of course, I've only read Volume 1. I've not read Volume 2. But it...
Did you read Volume 3?
Well, I mean, that would be very Tarantino if I read Volume 3 and then go back to 2.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh, what does this mean? Let's go back. I like the way it's written. It's Straczynski.
Straczynski's a god.
I'm a fan of everything he pretty much writes.
Everything that he does.
This was a great one to it.
And Straczynski is one of those people that he just hops around. He hops through mediums. He's never in one place for too long. Like he wrote science fiction. He wrote Babylon 5. He wrote comic books. Now he's moved on like theater. He wrote novels.
Thor.
Wrote movies. Wrote Thor.
The film.
Wrote Thor comics. Like the man, just he's been all over the place. And this is just another example.
Very talented.
Yeah.
Drawn by Shane Davis, by the way.
So now
Shane
is it
Davis
because now the Earth one is usually a retelling of the origin story? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not a good jumping off point.
Right,
because
it's not canon. It's a different origin.
Yes, correct.
So kind of.
Tell me more.
The main DC universe that we read about is actually taking place in Earth 0. So Earth 1 is one of the multiverse universes. So it's not Earth 0 canon, but it has its own canon, also different than the Earth 2 books that they
Did
used
it
to
change his origin a lot?
It puts more of a focus on him at the teenage young 20s. And a lot of his flashbacks are Smallville. It's a lot of Smallville flashbacks.
Yeah.
And nothing that gets really Kryptonian until the middle when aliens arrive in Metropolis.
Yeah.
So, but the flashbacks are more Smallville related, as he then later on embraces his powers.
Yeah, look at him flying. Look at him. Kind of like a Final Fantasy character.
He's got trunks. He's got a different love interest in there. Lois is there.
Yeah.
Lana?
No, it's not Lana either.
No.
I can't remember her name.
Lona.
Unnamed is Lona Plane.
They end up moving in together.
Lona Plane.
So anyway,
that was mine. That was the old Straczynski.
And I'd say one other, again, not a good jumping off point, or not a good, but just a good story in general. DC likes their crises.
There's a lot of crises.
They've had Crisis on Infinite Earths. They've had
Infinite
Crisis,
Crisis in Albuquerque,
and the most recent Crisis, I believe, was it the most recent Crisis?
It was just Final Crisis.
Final Crisis was the most recent Crisis.
Fort Lauderdale Crisis.
So Final Crisis is a wonderful story that again focuses on the multiverse and it being destroyed again. But the reason it's such a great Superman story is because he's traveling through the multiverse trying to figure out how he can stop this from happening. And in doing so, he basically gathers up all these other Supermen from other dimensions, which I always think is really fun. Because in so many comics, there's like a Superman equivalent. You know, like the Sentry in Marvel he's a Superman clone. You know, Irredeemable Superman clone, Invincible, Superman clone. And so he goes through the multiverse and picks up, like, he goes to, like, Earth 2 and all these other Earths and picks up all these other Supermen and brings them with him. And that's actually how he's able to get back to our universe, is just by using the sheer force of hundreds of Supermen. But one of my favorite scenes, and this is back when I hated Superman that I read this, by the way. This is probably what turned the tide. One of the greatest, like, little, like, panel by panel scenes I've ever seen. Darkseid faces off with Batman. And he hits him with the Omega Beam and kills Batman. This is when Batman dies and he gets thrown back in time. It actually sets up Dark Knight's Metal. It's very interesting. But when he's killed, Superman is aware of it. Superman knows. And you see these panels where you just see Superman full bore flying as fast and as hard as he can with his heat vision going, just cutting through, screaming, flying through. You see the dead shot of him shooting his lasers. He just rips a path and just flies, slams into this building, obliterates Darkseid, and just picks up his friend's husk, the burnt out husk of Batman, and he's just standing there holding him. And I was like, this is
the
comic
raging
books.
Kryptonian.
Yeah.
The anger unleashed.
Yeah, I was like, this is a comic book. This is a Superman that I can get behind.
When you've pushed him too far and you finally just like it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right.
I like when they get angry too. I do.
What do you got?
I do.
What's
I
next?
All right, so no more. The death and return of Superman was a pretty big deal.
Oh yes.
Doomsday,
What?
which is a character that was not in existence before this, is introduced.
Yeah.
And the as it goes, Doomsday gets stronger and stronger, and Superman finally faces off against him, and the force of the blows is so strong that it like shatters windows and buildings start falling. And Superman dies, which is something we never thought would happen.
Do you know why Doomsday is so powerful?
Because he's Kryptonian.
Well, yes, but how he's made to be so powerful?
Oh, he was just cloned over and over.
They clone him over and over. It's such like a. It was in the 90s, so you didn't think the 90s had necessarily like the best stories, but that's such like a dark sentiment. Is the creator of Doomsday basically jumpstarts evolution by cloning Doomsday over and over and having them fight, and whichever one wins, he clones and they do it again until it basically like evolves faster and works like through like this like crazy like Darwinian process to become this super powerful being to face off with Superman.
Yep.
And his stupid long hair.
And that's why Doomsday also hates Superman so much, because when he looks at Superman, he sees Kryptonian, but his creator, not just Superman.
Do we know who his creator was?
It happened like hundreds of thousands of years before the Kryptonian culture that we read about.
He was just a Kryptonian.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It happened on
He made him.
Krypton. Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
I put down For Tomorrow, which is actually what this is from. And I think For Tomorrow was the first two trades that I picked up of anything Superman ever. Any comic book ever, yeah. I like individual comics back in the day, but this was the first one, and it was it's really good. Again, probably not a good jumping off point. The art's good, the story's really interesting, and I think the thing that drew me in about it was there's like a panel where Superman is off doing something heroic.
Oh yeah. So
And then he stops and he's like,
I
hear a gun, like here's a gunshot.
Yeah.
And then there's something that he's used to hearing that's not there anymore. And he's like takes off flying and he flies around the world and he picks up Lois, who's been shot. Ends up saving her life, but it's like it shows you the human side of Superman.
Yeah.
And then Lois and a bunch of other people disappear, and he kind of goes crazy trying to figure out how to get them back. The Justice League are like, no, you need to stop. You're going to make more disappearances happen. And so he goes toe to toe with Wonder Woman. Eventually comes to find out that they've all disappeared into the Phantom Zone, which has been recreated into like this paradise, and his parents are there and stuff. But Zod is also there.
That's a weird story.
It's pretty good.
Just so you're aware, Triggered Liberal 26.
Which comment was, what's going on here?
Just peeks his head in. We're talking about Superman.
Talking about comics.
The Man of Steel. We're a podcast. We talk about comic books.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
A couple other more recent, Superman Reborn was a 4-issue event that happened. between it happened in Superman and Action Comics in 2017, I believe. And it basically, at that time, the New 52 Superman was the Superman of the world, and then the Superman that we grew up with had kind of like been brought there by this other being. It was like, your universe is going to be destroyed. I will take you anywhere you want to go. I'm like, well, we'll just go back to our world, just the new version of it. And so they've existed. In Superman Reborn, we come to find that Mixie Pitalik, who is one of the most
Stupid name.
difficult names to pronounce. He bugs Superman so much in so many different ways.
Yeah, magic.
Yeah, your name's stupid to pronounce.
But he ultimately he loves Superman.
Oh.
And so to help Superman hide his identity when he's outed, he's like, I'm gonna become Clark Kent. So
Mustache.
he tricks himself into being Clark Kent, but he thinks it so much that when he sees that Superman and Lois Lane are married, he freaks out. And then he puts Superman through this gauntlet, and it kind of retcons that the New 52 Superman never really existed in the world anymore, and it's just this Superman.
Mixie's kind of bipolar.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's a little bit, yeah.
Fifth
I love you. I
dimension.
hate you. Magic.
Fifth dimension.
So I like the story because it kind of, at that point, kind of forgot Mixie Pitalik existed.
Yeah.
And he comes back super strong.
He's an insanely powerful being.
Yes.
He's just so comical that it's hard to take him serious.
Yeah.
He's also the whole magic thing, since the big thing Superman has an issue with besides Kryptonite is magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why Shazam can go
Shazam.
toe-to-toe with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think in this one, it's yes, he's comical, but he's more
Sadistic.
Joker-like,
Yeah.
In his insanity.
Okay.
And I feel like, again, not a good jumping off point, but it was a good story where it kind of brought a lot of these loose ends from the New 52, and it kind of tied them up. And you might say, well, it's kind of a cop out. They just retcon with this and make this all the old Superman stuff disappear, and
Right.
the new Superman stuff, and bring the old Superman back. But it was a good way of doing it, and it was kind of an interesting way of showing that both Superman existing in the same universe made them each less powerful. And now that there's just the one, and they've come together. Because they face off, the two Supermen together face off, in this weird dimension that Mixie creates for him, and then they end up becoming one, and he's back to his full strength.
So, when you have a character around for 80 years, is there a good jumping off point? Because I feel like everyone knows his story. Everyone knows who Superman is. He's the last son of Krypton. We all know where he's from.
That's who he is.
Yeah, the Man of Steel. So is there a good jumping off point? Should you just start with the most recent stuff? What do you...
Superman number 1 is going to be coming up. That's probably as good a spot as any. It's going to be mid universe, but part of the rebirth, the road to rebirth, as DC's titled it, was a short series called Lois and Clark, and it was basically the Superman pre-New 52, Lois and their son Jonathan, and their adventures in the New 52 universe. So I think that's a good place, because it kind of gets you into their heads and into their situation, and it's almost their origin story, not necessarily Superman as a whole, but that family's origin story, and then that kicks off and picks up in Superman number 1 in Action Comics when it relaunches with Rebirth.
I think Triggered Liberal 26, I think that's me when I was 26 years old.
Superman is my least favorite superhero.
Because I am a liberal. I get triggered, and I will kill you.
Oopsie.
And Superman was my least favorite superhero for a long time. He's not high up there.
But he's fine.
He's fine. There could be a good Superman story. That's what it was. Is I needed a good writer, and that's when I got guys like Grant Morrison and stuff. I take issue with him. I don't know if Triggered Liberal 26 is the same as me, but I think he is. I think that's me from the past. I always just hated that he was invulnerable. And that's why the more human stories, it makes you care more, because otherwise he's just impossible to beat. Now he's saying that Captain Jack Sparrow is his favorite superhero. That is no longer me when I was 26 years old. So,
one last thing, Lois and Clark,
shut up. One last thing.
a good place to jump off, and probably Superman number 1 from the 2016 Rebirth.
Yeah,
launch.
I think Rebirth is a good spot to jump on with any of them, because it was
It was a weird
It
reset.
was a weird reset, but it was a good spot to jump on if you're really interested in.
It was one of those, the video game got stuck, you can't play anymore, you gotta hit the thing, reset button. Okay, we're good. There it is. Yeah,
that's
what they did.
it was. And I think the Bendis
Works.
Man of Steel
Works.
I think that's, if we come back and do this again in 10 years, that'll be listed as our
I really hope we're not doing this in 10 years.
probably.
What?
You want to do something else?
No, because I hope we're like paid for. Yeah, we're famous.
Yeah.
Oh no! Yeah, right. We'll have a studio,
and then I could
and
just
a live-
and then I could just take a lighter and gold-plated lighter, and I could light my cigar. Then I light $100 bill, and then I use that to burn a Superman comic.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, triggered liberal 26.
Anyway, so I think the Bendis Man of Steel run, and
Bendis Among Us.
he's going to be doing Superman and Action Comics after.
Wow, he's
that.
doing all kinds of stuff.
Yes, he's doing a lot of Superman.
Yeah.
What I like,
Yeah, he
and
is.
why I think we'll be talking about it, and why I think you'll like Superman better,
Why?
is he's doing less
suit.
Superman
Trunks.
No, old suit. I don't know. He's doing less Superman always in the Superman suit fighting crisis.
Yeah.
There are going to be situations that Clark Kent has to deal with. We're going to see more of Clark Kent
Ooh, reporting.
doing reporting, doing his
Yeah.
job, dealing with family issues
Because
or
I don't
lack
know-
of family.
I don't know what makes a good comic book for you guys, but a comic book following a reporter reporting stuff.
Today on 60 Minutes, Clark Kent interviews Donald Trump.
Ah, I'm excited for that comic. That's going to be a good one.
All right, I think that's all right.
but the last thing that we want to wrap up with, because I like this, our first exposure or memory of Superman, good or bad, liked him or not, fan of Captain Jack Sparrow or not. What do we think? First exposure to Superman, go.
It was June 9th.
Okay, that's weird that you have a date.
Let's go back to that old story. It was raining.
It's raining and you're at the Barnes and Noble
Yeah.
and your parents are across from the church.
We get it. The guns, the pearls. Let's move on.
Accurate.
Good reference. Well done. Dad recorded both the George Reeves TV show and the Christopher Reeves movies, and 5-year-old Anthony knew how to work the VCR player. So
VCR player.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Can you explain what that is? So
So
out there.
box about this tall. You put a tape that had film in it. You plugged it in, and it played a movie.
Why?
Your dad may have illegally recorded movies when, say, ABC was showing them, and knew to pause when commercials came, and had unpause when the commercials were over.
Oh, I just had the commercial. That was
Sometimes,
Yeah, we had the commercials,
sometimes they forgot to unpause it and missed half the story. No. So it was that.
I just see Steve's dad as this like middle-aged Portuguese guy, just like, sure, yeah, shenanigans.
So it was funny because my dad, when he recorded it, the way they were on TV, on this one VHS tape, Superman 2 was first, and then Superman the movie was after it. Now, in some of those tapes, depending
Tarantino.
on the speed you chose, you only got 4 hours of tape. So here's the thing.
So he sped it up.
No, the very first Superman movie, the film cuts off when Lois dies. So for quite a long time, I had to believe that Superman failed in saving Lois because he goes, gets out of the car, the camera slowly pans away, he sits there, and the tape stops, starts winding itself. And I'm like, the longest time, like that's a horrible ending.
Superman sucks.
Why is she alive in part 2? I don't get what happened. Finally, like a rental from the store called Blockbuster.
Can you explain what that is?
Excuse me, actually, it was Rayleigh's when Rayleigh's had VHS
Okay.
tapes.
Rayleigh still exists.
Yes.
Yeah, really, does still exist.
Rented it.
You can still rent things there, I think.
Realized that.
Redbox.
And it was actually, when I finally got to see the whole movie, the two moments that stand out that you two would say you appreciate the most Superman, those human moments. When he's done saving everyone, but Lois is still being piled on with the rocks and everything, and she's dying. And that look on his face where he just realizes, and you don't even hear him say Lois, but you read that he says Lois.
Yeah.
And tries to go save her, and he realizes he's failed and she's dead. And that moment, that stuck with me as a kid. When he's sitting there, Lois is dead. He sits there and just Christopher Reeve's face of just saying no quietly. No, looks up, no. And just that yell. When he yells no, and it echoes like forever. I got chills as a kid. I'm like, oh my god, Superman is so upset right now.
They're multiplying.
Yeah, but that
That is the second Grease reference of the night.
those moments stick with me.
You okay?
I have a badass moment, but I'm gonna let you continue with your moment.
Okay,
No, you
what about-
don't get two.
What about yours, David?
You can have two. Okay. So, when I was a kid, I also had a VCR
Player.
player. It was a VHS player. It's a VCR. I had a VCR, and in the den of my parents' house, my dad had a small TV stand that could the top could rotate, so you could turn the TV, and it
you could
had
walk around in
magnetic doors in the front of the cupboard, so you'd push them and pop open
I
at
love
you.
those doors.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that all the time. And in there, I had all my tapes from when I was a kid. One of them was a double-sided double feature. On one side, it was a bunch of classic Looney Tunes, probably racist, and then on the other side, on the other side was a Superman cartoon. And in this cartoon, there was an evil scientist who created these flying robots with these hollow cavities in their chests.
Yep.
And they flew to the bank, blew the side of the bank open, piled all the money into themselves, and then took off and flew back. And a woman who I assume is supposed to be like Lois Lane, I think, because I think she was a reporter, gets caught in the pile of gold and doubloons and gets piled into the robot.
Yes.
Yeah, and Superman has to fight the robots and fight the evil scientists and get them back. And I would watch that over and over because this kid's obsessed with stuff and just rewind and watch it again. So I had that cartoon memorized for a very long time. And then after that, it was just kind of, it turned into, I had a lot of Superman gear, the same reason I had a lot of Chicago Bulls gear, because it was popular. Because it was like the movies had come out, like kids always wanted Superman stuff. I didn't read a lot of comic books at that point. So I just had I had Superman backpacks, Superman t-shirts, and then I had Chicago Bulls. I had the reversible red and black jacket. Yeah. I still have that at my parents' house.
Nice.
Can I
have it?
probably
I'm still a
sell
fan.
that for a lot of money.
Still a
Still
fan.
fit you?
God, no.
Can I have it?
Could it fit me?
It could probably fit you, actually.
Still a fan.
But yeah, so I just had that stuff. So I was constantly exposed to Superman, not because I wanted to be, but just because he was around.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I eventually, like, once I got into like the anti-heroes and stuff,
Then
like the
came
90s.
Spawn.
Yeah, then I got into like Spawn and stuff, and like Superman, like I was like, oh, Superman sucks. Like he's invulnerable and he's a goody two shoe and he doesn't do what needs to be done. And so it took a lot of growing up on my part to realize. Well, I mean, first off, some writers wrote him terribly. Some writers, the way some writers was like your friend who you would like hit them and it'd be like, all right, cool, you lose, and they'd be like, nuh-uh, I had a force field the whole time. Yeah, it was like, I feel like Superman was that. It's just like, oh, I have heat vision, I can punch forever, my chest bullets bounce off. So I feel like I was bored with him until I found the right writers. So that is my experience of Superman.
I feel like Superman would be really easy to write badly just because he has so many powers that if you just play those to those strengths, it's going to be bad. But because of those powers, there's a lot of blind spots that he could potentially have, and I think the good writers get that.
Right.
The first memories that I can think of with Superman are watching Nick at Night, watching the George Reeve version of Superman.
It was on Nick at Night?
It was on Nick at Night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was I Love Lucy and Superman. So we watched those two. So I watched those, and then the cartoons that you mentioned. We had I don't know where we got them, but we had digital versions on my parents' computer. Like we had all of them.
Cool.
Because there's only 10 or 12 of them, and we had them all.
Do you still have them?
I have hard copies of them now, which
on DVD.
I don't think I have anything. Yeah, they probably still play on something.
Are they VHS or the DVD?
One of them's a VHS. I do have DVD, yes. I could play them on something. But they're on YouTube, too, so,
Oh.
There you go.
That kind of takes away the fun.
Yeah, it kind of... I mean, I'm not going to get rid of them. I was like, why do we have... You have 6 of these, and I'll have the same... Yeah, and I have all the same thing on there, but there's different covers on them.
You put them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop. Trash can... No.
Stop
You stop that.
Don't you dare.
So I think that was, the really old stuff I didn't get exposed to the Christopher Reeve stuff until a little bit later. And then, of course, the animated series and all the stuff that followed with that. So that's my first memory. That's what made me fall in love with Superman and kind of, I mean, going on 30 years for me. So
You're old.
I'm older than 30.
Yeah.
I'm the same age as this guy.
Really?
Did you just turn 36?
Wait, what?
June 9th. That was my birthday. I turned 36. Thanks, camera.
Oh, I thought you were closer in age. He's a year older than me.
I'm the old guy.
Anyway, I think that about wraps us up.
Superman.
I wanted to say.
Oh yeah. What's your BA moment?
BA moment.
Your BA.
Now remember,
Your BAMF.
bam.
Dane Cook's
Thunder,
not cool anymore.
Thunder Valley this week. He'll be there.
Poor Dane Cook.
You're welcome, Dane. Part 2.
Okay.
When Zod and I forgot the other two.
I like how hard you are on the dude.
Theora and Non.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. When they arrive on Earth, they team up with Luthor. Yeah. He just wants Australia. And it was at that time when Superman loves Lois so much that he's willing to give up his powers to be with her, and he goes in that chamber at the Fortress of Solitude. They're taken away. They're here. He realizes he has to try and plead to get them back, and that green crystal that woke him up when he was a teen. He found that, he was able to get his powers back. A moment when
Spoilers.
those three Kryptonians are chilling
Like,
at
fine.
yeah, those three Kryptonians are chilling at Daily Planet. They got Lois, Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, all of them captive, and all of a sudden, the newspaper that says Superman is gone starts to move, flies. Things start flying, and you see the red and blue flying through the sky. He parks right outside the window, and he says, "General, do you care to step outside?" It's like, yes, it's on. It is so on. He's coming to you, Zod. It's coming. The thunder, he's bringing it.
Yeah.
Then great. Bow to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. And then the battle was on. It was beautiful. Oh, I love
They
that.
had really good glam rock.
They did.
those
I want to go watch that
Kryptonians, dude.
scene again
I
right
think
now.
Man of Steel 2 needs to friggin' come out already. We're not going to get it until like 2020. And
Right?
Who cares at that point?
Kneel before
I do.
I'll probably still care.
I do.
That does about wrap
We'll
it
see
up.
it together.
For this week's episode, Superman 101. Look forward to the future for other 101s. Maybe Batman.
We'll take it to
maybe the Avengers. Maybe all kinds of characters. Spider-Man. We got all kinds of
there's
opportunities
so many.
for the 101s.
Mr. Mixelplix.
Mixel
101.
On next week's episode, join us as we once again delve into the dungeons with dragons. I think, yeah. We're Dungeons and Dragons Part 4. Join our adventurers, Bryce Rinn, aka the Bat Citizen, Alec Hollander, aka the Swamp Citizen,
Diane Prince.
Diane Prince, aka the Wonder Citizen. Whatever. Join us next week for some D&D action. As always, you can check out anything related to the Cables Crusaders at thecablescrusaders.com. I like that you were looking up. It's like you were already there. Everything is there. We have our replays of our old episodes. We have our audio. We have our blogs, so on and so forth. We also have sponsors. You can get to them from there as well. Like Computer Booter, local computer repair, retro video game, lounge, and VR experience. Empire's Comics Vault. Yeah, get some comics.
Look at that pug.
Get some hot sauce. Hang out with some pugs. Do all those other...
It's got a lot of different hot sauces now.
So
like
many
that
hot
shelf
sauces.
just keeps like,
It's getting-
there used to be comics here.
No,
hot sauce.
It's gonna be a
sauce.
restaurant now.
Yeah. It's going to turn all the way.
You can put a taco truck outside.
see what
Hot
happens.
sauce. You want hot sauces in Empires.
On the
Comics
on
are in the food truck, actually.
Yeah, we're going to start wrapping the tacos in that. Anyway, my name is David Barry at Dr. Barry on varying social media platforms. I'm joined by the last sons of Krypton. To my left, we have...
I am Manderson at Son of Mander on Instagram and Twitter. Is it the Gram? I call it the Gram.
The Gram. That's what
Gram.
the kids call it.
Oh, they do?
I don't think they do.
Good, because that's why I call it the Gram. Because the kids
Yeah,
don't call
I
it
don't
that.
say what kids say.
It's because I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not a kid anymore.
Yes.
But I read comics. So, anyway, my Kryptonian cohorts on the other side.
Lois, I never lie. This is the Azorian one, Anthony Steves.
That was cute. He did the quote
first movie,
again.
the first movie.
Yeah, check us
Yeah,
out
interviewed him.
next week. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. Thanks for watching on the YouTube. Thanks for listening in the podcast app. For Amy at IJNewRobot and Tom at Tall Dark Not Ugly on everything. Good night.